All right, good morning, students, or good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this. Mr. Torres here. I'm going to do as I promised, and I'm going to walk you through and talk you through my process for turning a summary of a chapter of a story into an analysis. Okay, and so this is a really kind of time-saving thing that does take practice, but I do believe that for something like we're expected to do on the AP exam, where we have 40 minutes to write, each essay, this can be a really, really useful practice for you going forward. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a summary of chapter 5 of Beloved. Okay, and just so you know, I am typing on my iPad a little bit. If it gets laggy, I don't know, it's been kind of slow lately. So just kind of bear with me on that. But I'm going to go ahead and just summarize chapter 5. All I'm going to do right now is I'm going to summarize what happens in chapter 5 of Beloved from my reading of the text. It might sound a little wonky because I am doing this on just here on the spot, but just trust the process. Okay, editing can come later. Okay, so chapter 5, I'm going to go ahead and start. I'm going to say, upon arriving home from the carnival. Setha, Denver, and Paul D encounter a woman in a black dress passed out near their home. Okay, so when they're walking home from the carnival, remember this is right after Paul D kind of gets some, I think they go with like $2 to the carnival, and they have a really great time at the carnival. It's right after Setha has noted that, their shadows look as if they're holding hands, on the pavement and everything like that, kind of indicating, a normal life could be possible for Setha, Paul D, and Denver. Okay, but as they come back, they encounter this strange woman in a black dress passed out near their home. Upon seeing her, Setha, or not seeing her, but approaching her, upon approaching the woman, Setha is overcome with the urge to use the restroom and runs out to the outhouse behind 124. 124 Bluestone Road is the address at their house. It is referred to 124 many times in the text. So whenever Setha and Paul D and Denver are walking up to the woman who's passed out, Setha gets this urge to just to urinate, and so she runs to the outhouse behind 124, but she does not make it. So I'm going to say not making it and being forced to use the restroom outside of the outhouse. So she's just urinating outside of the outhouse. So while urinating, Setha is reminded of the sensation of giving birth. Remember, it says that it felt like her water breaking, and I'm actually gonna kind of add that in there, the sensation of her water breaking and giving birth. Okay, and so she remembers her water breaking whenever Denver was born at that moment. When she comes back around to the front of the house, Paul D and Denver are still with this strange woman who they give water to. So Denver and Paul D are there. Setha walks on them, and I believe it's either Setha or Paul D that offers her water. The strange woman, voraciously, like she is just so thirsty. She drinks this water. She drinks several cups of it. So I'm going to say the strange woman voraciously drinks several cups of water before the trio, Paul D, Denver, and Setha, ask her what her name is. The woman replies that her name is Beloved. which is coincidentally the same word that appears on the headstone of Setha's deceased youngest daughter. It's a girl. Okay. So whenever she says that her name is Beloved, Setha's ears kind of perk up, and she immediately takes notice of Beloved. And in the previous chapter, remember that Setha had thought about, remembered what it took for her to get that headstone with that one word on the headstone, engraved in the headstone. And it talked about her, having to give herself to the person who was making that headstone. So this definitely catches Setha's attention. So they bring the woman into the house, and Denver becomes very close to Beloved. After taking care of her for several days and nursing her back to health, as does Setha. Remember that Setha helps with that. She has several conversations with Beloved. Most of the conversations center around Setha's past. Okay, so I'm going to actually add that as a Setha who has several conversations with Beloved about Setha's own past. So Setha and Denver become very close with Beloved. However, Paul D is suspicious of this strange woman, and there is tension between them, especially as upon his arrival at 124. Remember, whenever Paul D shows up, he violently, he yells at, so he violently casts out the ghost that used to occupy the house. So that's my summary of chapter 5. Go ahead and grab a drink of Celsius here. So again, just a detailed chapter about what happens in chapter 5. Remember, for summaries, I really want just the major plot points. Little tiny things maybe jumping out at you, but really the major plot points are the things that should be in a summary. Who's involved, what is happening, etc., etc. Okay, so now with this summary, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into this summary, and I'm actually going to convert it into an analysis. And the way I do that is I inject into this summary bits of information that I am pulling my analysis of the things that are happening in this chapter. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of show you how I would do that based on my assumptions about what we are reading. Okay, so I have, upon arriving home from the carnival, Setha Denver and Paul D encounter a woman in a black dress passed out near their home. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to add in a little bit of analysis, and anything that I add, I'm actually going to put in a different color. Let me just add it in red. Okay. So this is, anything in red is going to be my analysis. Okay. So I'm going to say who the reader can reasonably infer is the manifestation of Setha's deceased daughter. No, Denver would have been the youngest. No, Beloved would have been the deceased youngest daughter, whose ghost used to occupy the house. Okay, the reason I'm saying that is just because of the information that I'm going to come across a little bit later. And then also some bits that are in this passage, this summary, that I can kind of put together, I'm pretty sure. Okay. So here I'm going to say, I'm going to build my my line of reasoning here, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with one of those words from BTS FUD. I'm going to say because, I still want it in red. So because the narrator explains that the woman spawned from the river, and this was a little bit earlier in the chapter, or maybe in the previous chapter. I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure it was in the previous chapter. Which being made of water, comma, can symbolize a source of life, comma. So the idea of water in literature has always been a symbol of life. Remember, you need water to live. Okay, so that's where I'm getting that from. Okay, I'm gonna say which can symbolize a source of life, and because the woman voraciously drinks several cups of water, comma, the reader gets a sense that this stranger desires or wants. She has a desire for the thing that she came from. So desires that from which she came. Okay, so she came from a river. She stepped out of the river, and after she passes out, and they find her, she voraciously has this desire, this thirst, this insatiable thirst for water. So she wants the thing that she came from. She came from water, and then she wants water. Okay, so I'm gonna add another BTS FUD here. Instead of ending the sentence there, I'm gonna say therefore. So because T, therefore, comma, if the stranger is the ghost of Setha's daughter, comma, it can be seen as if the stranger desires to return to the woman who birthed her, and the family that she was once a part of, period. Okay, so if this is actually beloved, then she wants to return to the woman who birthed her, Setha, and she wants to go back to the place where she would have been with her family, which is 124. Okay, so that's kind of where I'm getting this. Okay, so now I have this other piece about Setha having to use the restroom, which I think is like kind of further evidence of who this person is, who this stranger is. So I'm going to say this, I'm going to still be in red. This is further evident after, and then I'm going to get rid of this, but I'm going to keep this part about Setha having to use the restroom. After Setha is overcome with the urge to use the restroom after seeing the strange woman. Okay. And this information now about Setha not making it to the outhouse, I'm not sure that's necessarily information that I need to analyze. I'm not seeing anything from it right now, so I'm going to get rid of this information, but I do want to keep the information about Setha being reminded of childbirth, because that, to me, if this person is beloved and beloved was once her child, then Setha being reminded of childbirth kind of just connects those dots a little bit more. So I'm going to get rid of this. So this is further evident after Setha is overcome with the urge to use the restroom after seeing the strange woman, and is reminded of the sensation of her water breaking and giving birth. So I'm going to say, comma, I'm going to go back to my red because I'm going to provide some analysis, which creates a connection between the past and present happenings. So this creates a connection between the things that happened in the past, which is the death of Setha's daughter, and the present, Setha giving birth and the death of her daughter, and the present, which is this woman appearing and Setha being reminded of the sensation of giving birth. So those are through lines. Those are things that are being connected. So I think that's evidence of who this woman is. Okay. So when she comes back around to the front of the house, Paul Deere giving the strange woman water to, she voraciously drinks several cups of water. I already mentioned that up here at the top, so I'm not going to mention it again down here. Okay, so since I've already mentioned it once, I'm going to get rid of it down here if my iPad will cooperate. I'm just going to backspace here. I'm sorry, guys. Might take a little, actually, select. Yeah, I know what I'm doing. Okay. Okay. Let me get rid of this. The drinking several cups of water. Again, I already mentioned that up at the beginning of this paragraph. And then let me just make that capitalized. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, but let me just make it capitalized. So here, the woman drinks several cups of water. Let me select that, and I'm just going to make this black because that's not analysis, that's summary. Okay, so that's why I'm making that black. Okay, so back to down here. All right. So let's see. After asking, let me see, the trio asks what her name is. Okay, so I'm going to do this. After asking the strange woman what her name is, she replies, comma, she replies, beloved, which, comma, I'm going to add the word since here. Since. So BTS FUD. This is going to be a little bit since. Since this is coincidentally the same word that appears on the headstone of Setha's deceased youngest daughter, as revealed in a previous chapter. Let me put that, because that's not revealed in this chapter. I'm going to put revealed in a previous chapter, comma, further indication that the stranger is Setha's, or the ghost of Setha's daughter. I'm going to say that is the ghost of Setha's daughter returned, period. Okay, so here, this is all just my analysis, inferences that are being made. Okay. So let me see this. Now I'm going to go, let's say this. Let's say furthermore, because we want to use BTS FUD, furthermore, comma. After bringing her into the house, after they bring the woman into the house, Denver becomes very close to Beloved after carrying her for several days and nursing her back to health. As does Setha, who has numerous conversations about Setha's past. We can say, understanding this, comma, the reader, oh, I don't want that bold, I'm sorry, guys, but I do want it red, sorry. Understanding this, the reader can see a somewhat sibling-like relationship developing between Denver and Beloved, as Denver takes on the role of an older caretaker to the weaker Beloved, and a somewhat motherly endearance towards Beloved from Setha, as she develops an appreciation for not only Beloved, but Denver's attachment to her. Well, can't spell today, guys. Period. We'll say also, comma, Beloved's identity is further evident due to the fact, there's my D in BTS FUD, so I'm going to make that bold, due to the fact that, and we'll say Paul D, due to the fact that Paul D is suspicious of the strange woman and there's tension between them. And so let me get rid of especially because it just wouldn't sound right to me. As upon his arrival at 124, he violently casts out the ghost that used to occupy the house. Okay, so as you can see, all of my black text is summary, okay? And what I've done is I've used elements of BTS FUD because, therefore, understanding this... Is understanding this in there somewhere? No. Since understanding this, due to the fact... Okay. I did put furthermore in there, I feel... Oh, here, further. Well, furthermore, right, okay. Excuse me. So I have gone in and I've injected my analysis into this this chapter, okay? And so that takes this summary of chapter 5 of Beloved and turns it into an analysis of what is happening in the text. Now, the really good thing that I like about doing this is that this checks multiple boxes for the AP scoring rubric, okay? And the difference between a 3 and a 4 in the AP scoring rubric is that you have a clearly developed line of reasoning. And I have that because I've gone from one point to the other. Because this, therefore, since, furthermore, understanding this, due to the fact, I've gone from one point to the other and I've laid out clearly for the reader why this indicates that, the cause and effect relationship between what's going on here, okay? What I'm going to want to do, though, is I definitely want to kind of wrap things up with the discussion of the big idea. I don't have big idea in here yet, okay? So we can say, let's do this because we're analyzing the plot and like the symbols and what it means. So let's do this, and this is going to be my kind of big idea here. I'm going to say, and I'm going to put this in red because big idea is analysis. We're going to say the combination of story, comma, we do have a flashback, comma, and symbolism all indicate that the author is suggesting that though time, comma, and people, comma, seem to move on, the past has a tendency to return, which is a common theme in Southern Gothic literature, period. Okay, so if Beloved is from Setha's past and Beloved has come to 124 where Setha currently lives, the past is returning to Setha. Okay, so that's where I'm getting this big idea. And this big idea is prevalent in all aspects of, or in many aspects of Southern Gothic literature. Remember, we saw it in A Rose for Emily. We saw it in A Good Man is Hard to Find. We saw it in Strange Fruit. And we see it in Beloved, okay? So we have big idea. We have analysis. So we're checking boxes here. We're cooking, as you guys like to say, okay? Now, this is where things get really exciting for me as a teacher because the difference between a 3 and a 4 on the AP exam is a 3 says that you make mention of one literary device and you clearly explain how that literary device leads to theme with a clear line of reasoning, right? Well, if you look at what we've done in this analysis, we don't just have one literary device. We have multiple literary devices, and I'm going to show you how, okay? So we started by talking about what happens as Setha, Paul D, and Denver arrive back at 124. When you talk about what happens in a story, that's plot, okay? So we've already mentioned plot, which is an aspect that I encourage each of you to actively try to analyze in text, okay? Then we also talked about her spawning from the river and the river being a source of life, okay? So here we have, and I'm gonna make this green. Here we have setting. We've discussed setting, okay? And we use the word symbolize here. So if I use the word symbolize, I know I'm talking about symbolism. So I'm gonna put symbolism here. So it symbolizes a source of life, okay? Then I move on to Setha having to use the restroom, okay? Setha having to use the restroom is a plot point. Okay? And when she's reminded of the sensation of her water breaking and giving birth, well, this is a flashback. And we talked about what the flashback does. It creates a connection between the past and present happenings. Okay? So then we have the next part of the plot. They bring the woman into the house and they ask her name and they nurse her back to health. So that's plot again. We're mentioning a different aspect of the plot. And then we talk about conversation about Setha's own past. That's a flashback. Then we go forward and, we mention the next thing about the connection between Setha and Beloved and the endurance towards Beloved from Setha, Denver's attachment to Beloved. And then we talk about how Paul D is not cool with Beloved. Paul D is suspicious of her. And so this is plot as well. This is revealed to us, okay? As he violently casts out the ghost. And that flashback to him violently casting out the ghost is evidence of who this person is, okay? So we've taken this summary, and I wish I had copy and pasted it so we could see what the original looked like. But if you go to the beginning of this video, you can see what the original looked like. It was literally just a large paragraph of black text. And within that large paragraph of black text, we went and we have injected our analysis of what is happening in this text. And so we have plot, that's 1, setting, 2, symbolism, 3, flashback, 4, and then plot a couple of more times and flashback again. That's 5 different aspects of literature, 5 different literary devices that we have discussed just in, I don't know how long this video is, 25, 30 minutes, okay? And I took time to stop and talk to you guys and everything like that. So this is a skill that I really want you guys to practice and develop. And that's why for me, summarizing what you have read, the skill of summarizing, in a detailed manner is so important, because look what can come out of just a summary that was probably this long. We easily doubled the length of our writing, okay? I can now, later upon revising, I can go back in and I can decide, where do I need to add a paragraph? Where does one thing kind of lead to the next? How can I craft my introduction? How can I craft my conclusion? But as we know, the meat and potatoes, the most important aspect of our essay is going to be the body of that paragraph, as well as the thesis, okay? And this is basically my topic sentence for this paragraph, or sorry, for this paragraph. This would be my thesis, right? So how she uses different techniques to say something about life. The past has a tendency to return. That's life, that's true in this text. It's true out of the text. That's a great theme, okay? Which is a common theme in Southern Gothic literature. So I have all of the characteristics here of a well-written rough draft of an essay. And this is what we're trying to do for the AP exam. So as a reminder, reread your chapters, write your summary, and come on Tuesday ready to contribute your summary to your group so that you can make this happen, okay? I think this is a really good strategy for a quick analysis, much quicker than kind of going in and I don't know, but it offers itself to a quick analysis. Okay, I'm gonna stop yapping. I'm gonna let you guys get to it, and I hope this was helpful.